We are moving through this quickly. MetaViewer is up next.
Amazing. Thanks, Amy. All right. Hello, everyone. As you can see, my name here is listed as Eric, but I am not Eric. So sorry about that. One day we'll fix that. We're going to do a kind of a two-piece demo. I'm going to take the first bit, just a few slides to walk you through, and then I'm going to pass it over to my lovely colleague who has offered to help step in as I had some troubles earlier this morning. There he is, and that's Bill. That's not Eric. But anyways, thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm honored to be able to chat with you about MetaViewer, really help you understand how you can simplify the everyday tasks of paying your invoices, all while saving you time and thus money. Isn't that what we're all here for? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Amy, let me know when you can see my screen.
You're ready.
Ready to go? Okay, awesome. Fantastic. All right. So as you can see here, it really all starts with how we capture your invoice. There's no real reason to get fancy here. Your invoices, they will come in via email or regular mail, and you'll scan them in. But either way, we're in a digital world, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to extract the pertinent information using our AI tooling. We have 98% accuracy, which we're very proud of, but it is fantastic. And so we're going to extract the pertinent information using our AI tooling and bring it into the workflow. All right. All right, perfect. So we're going to capture, we're going to read, and we're going to route those invoices automatically. We're going to cut that process time by 70%. All right, you'll see here then it goes into either, if it's a PO invoice, we're going to reconcile the document. Typically, the PO would be approved in your ERP. If it's a non-PO invoice, we are going to GL code it, after which point it will be sent through for approvals and then sent to your ERP to be posted and to be paid. All right. All right, so we talk about a world without MetaViewer and a world with MetaViewer. Really, a lot of the customers that have come on board, they were doing a lot of things manually, still till this day, 2025, using paper. So how can we help? Well, we can eliminate some of that manual data entry with, again, our AI-driven data. So we're intelligently recognizing and invoice routing. And so we're saving you on average about 28 to 30 minutes from the minute you capture the document all the way to approve the document. Again, this is available for PO documents, for non-PO documents. We're also able to, we're an audit compliant software. So in the event that you have any audits, rest assured the document is in the format that you can retrieve it in and to be able to, present it on an as needed basis. We have those seamless workflows and approvals, right? So you can set as little or as many automation rules to automate some of that workflows. Things like utility bills, which Bill's going to demo for us in a second here. And then again, some advanced search capabilities just to be able to drill down and, on those parameters to make your day easier. So really it's 4 steps. We've simplified it, like I mentioned. So there's a verification stage where you're going to validate the information. You're going to code or reconcile it based on if it's a non-PO document or if it's a PO document. You're going to send it for approval, again, as little or as many approvals as you see fit based on perhaps the dollar value or the importance of that invoice. You're going to review it, and then you're going to export it to your ERP. So with that, I am going to stop sharing, and my dear friend Bill is going to take it over. And off you go, Bill. You're on mute, by the way, so you'll just need to get back off, and then you're good. There you go.
All righty then. I guess what I want to share here. Let's. All right, let me know when you can see the screen. Are you seeing in the lake?
I am seeing a lake, Bill.
Unfortunately, that's not my lake, but anyway, thanks. I appreciate it. Nice to see you again, Amy. And I'm going to jump right into this. So basically, as Bev mentioned, MetaViewer is driven at the beginning by a system we call intelligent recognition. And so all of the information that's being handled to this point, before it gets to the person that's going to actually deal with it, no one has had to physically touch that document whatsoever. It's all presented here, cleaned up and ready for work. So in my particular pace, I'm just going to take you through a couple of our workflows, and I'll start off with a non-PO invoice. And so I see here we've got one, and you'll notice that since there's no PO number with it, we've associated that with a non-PO invoice. I'll click on that, and that's going to take me to the screen that I would work for in this workflow, which in this particular case is going to be for Auto Classic. Car rental agency, my company rents from them, and so they've sent us this invoice. Now, the information on the left is all the information that we've either pulled from the ERP. When we see an invoice comes in, we check to make sure that we can populate this left-hand screen with the information we know about the vendor, including things like payment terms and their remittance address and so forth and so on. The one in the middle shows basically the copy of the image of the invoice itself, where you'll see those items highlighted here in yellow in the middle panel. And those are the things that we went ahead and captured from the invoice and populated further on the left-hand side so that we can verify that this invoice is ready to work on. And so it looks like we correctly captured the sales tax, and there's a subtotal and then the sales tax and so forth. So what we're going to do is make a simple click up here and say, okay, let's code that invoice so that we can send it through the process. All right, what'll come up now is on the bottom of the screen that's different from the first screen you saw was that it's going to have the GL coding information here. So you see that we've had some inventory that we bought, retail parts, and that there was $77 worth of taxes, which we figured out based on the vendor card in your ERP told us that you're on a tax schedule for Chicago City sales tax. So we look at that and say, okay, here's what the total was, 1196.93. That matches up with the credit, and so we've got a good match. We're going to go ahead and say, okay, that's coded. Again, I'm moving through this very quickly. I'm not going to get into every detail of the features, but I want to show you how simple it is. Bear in mind, I'm going to come back to this later, but we can automate many of these steps so that you don't even have to go through this manually. In this particular case, what we're going to do at this screen is assign approvers. And so in this particular case, you can assign an approver by department, by name. You can assign additional approvers. As Bev mentioned, we've got many levels. You can have up to 5 levels of approval. And in fact, in a few customers, we've added levels. So we've gone up to 8, I think. But basically, we're going to say, okay, Department 100 is going to be the approver for this. I'm going to send it along, indicating that there's no difference. It should be a simple enough invoice to approve. So I click here and send that for approval. Now, this is the one step that I hate in a demo because I'm not allowed to approve my own demos or approve my own invoices. So what I'm going to do is log out. There we go. And instead of being the AP clerk, I'm going to put myself in a position where I can got a, oh, let's see. I think Sally is the manager over there. I'll see if Sally can approve this. You know what? I know who can approve this. I'll just send it to the manager itself. Now you'll notice that, again, MetaViewer is a role-based system. And so these are all the roles or permissions that this manager happens to have in our demo system. In this particular case, I'm going to go straight to the one where it says my approval. I've got a queue of approvals that would need my help. So it's going to load up that invoice, in this particular case, the one from Auto Classic Park. And again, we'll look down through here, see that the coding matches, that in fact, the difference down here shows that in fact, the debit and the credit numbers match. We've got a good match. So we're going to go ahead and approve that invoice. Do you want to approve it? Yes, I do. And I don't have to worry about that. What I'm going to do now is log out of this and go back to my previous user for the demo.
Oh, Bill, just remove the capital M from the top field.
Yes, thank you. Okay. All right, so that one I'm going to go out to a PO invoice, and I've got one here kind of up from the off ice spa. In the case of a PO invoice, you'll notice that now we've recognized this because we picked up a PO number on the invoice here in the middle panel. And so it shows up as a PO invoice. We've got the PO number. We've also got information that we pulled off that. And we've already checked with the ERP of record to say, okay, does this match up? Are these things received? And can we go ahead and process this invoice? So we look down through here. In this particular case, again, it looks like we're in a good shape, 7731. So we'll go ahead and reconcile that invoice. Now here, we'll look one more time and make sure. Now in this particular case, I show this as an example because on a business process standpoint, you may say, look, there's a penny off because of the way we calculated the taxes based on the tax code and all that. We essentially are off by 1 cent. So in this particular case, there's a couple of things I can do, and I can change that over here, and I can make that 4842, in which case then I can go ahead and approve this invoice, or I could just accept the difference. And our PO said that we were expecting to pay 7732, and in this particular case, well, here, let me bring this up. I'll go ahead and show all the taxes and freight and handling. So here we go, it's 7732. And in fact, the invoice that they sent us was for 77731. We're going to go ahead and pay them the extra penny. So in this particular case, if I click reconciled, the total, I'll close that. Sure I will. So when I click reconcile, this will send that automatically to the ERP where it can be posted and paid. So the next thing I wanted to show you is every once in a while, our customers will get an invoice that has many invoices as one part of an individual PDF. And so occasionally when that happens, we'll want to be able to split those. Now we have two ways of doing that in MetaViewer. In this particular case, we've got a uniform company called Vestursi. And if you'll notice up here at the top of the invoice panel, it says that this is page 1 of 4. So rather than try to figure out what's what we really need to do is find out how many invoices are actually part of that. So we offer an opportunity here on the other situation where it says requires PDF splitting. If I click on that, it's now going to show me that invoice spread out. And so you can see, without getting into detail, that each one of these happens to be a different invoice. You'll see the different kinds of line items and so forth. In this particular case, you can manually split those by clicking between the invoices. If it turns out that there was more than one page to an invoice, I might not split here, but then split here. Or I can set up an automation to say every time there's a new invoice number, for example, go ahead and split on that. But if I do that and split that, what's going to happen is that it'll automatically split this invoice into this particular case into 3, and it would send them off back to verification where I would go through that process individually so that I can check all the numbers accurately without having to go back and forth. And then finally, the last thing that I wanted to demo real quickly is in one particular case here. Let me show you one of my personal favorites. It's an outfit we do business with all the time called Sparrow Welding. And my friends from Sparrow Welding have sent us an invoice. We recognize them. And so you'll see all the information about the vendors populated here. Again, there was no PO number on this, so it's a non-PO invoice. One of the options that I have on a non-PO invoice is to use a rules engine that we have in order to create rules that allow you to skip certain steps in a process. So for example, let's say that I do a lot of business with Sparrow Welding, and I said, look, anything over $10 and let's say up to $500, I'm going to pay this. A lot of our customers will use this facility when they're dealing with utilities, as Bev mentioned earlier. So if you have a particular vendor that always sells you the same thing, maybe they're on a long-term contract like your phone company or your utility bill, and so you know you're going to pay it, It comes in within a pretty much predetermined range of prices every month. You can go ahead and automate that and say, okay, in this particular case, if Sparrow Welding sends me an invoice between $10 and $500, I can skip the stage for verification coding and make that automatic. Then I could look to make other changes and I can apply that, or I have more options. What if I wanted to move something beyond just that first stage and say, okay, now if I choose automatic, Sparrow Welding's invoice, if it meets that criteria, will be enabled to verify and code the payable, and I could say make that automatic. Likewise, I could say, do I need to approve that, or do I trust that every time I get an invoice from Sparrow Welding that they've got it right and it's about the right price, I'm going to skip the approval. So there's no approval required. Finally, do I want to make a final approval? Because sometimes, no matter how much you trust your vendor, you want one person to look at it. And so I could make that manual or I could make that automatic. But when I finish this particular thing, it's going to say, all right, here's the existing rules in that particular vendor. And you'll notice it says I at one point wanted to let them go up to 1,000. I changed it to 500. This was manual. I've now made it automatic. But if I apply this, every time an invoice comes in from that vendor, it will allow me to skip all of those steps in the manual process. And so literally the invoice came to us before we had to do anything, completely automated. And now by creating this fuels engine, that invoice goes all the way through. Over here on the far right, although I didn't talk about it earlier, real briefly, this is the audit trail so that anyone that comes back and looks at this information later can see exactly what happened at each stage of the process as we handle this invoice. And with that, I'll turn it back to Beth.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If you just want to quickly stop sharing, I'll just share my contact information.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If you do want to learn more about MetaViewer, if you want to have a coffee on me, I'd love to chat more. But yeah, with that, thank you so much.
And thank you. I love the Harry Potter theme you had going on there.
Did you notice that?
I did.
We didn't even get into Hank's Quidditch services.
No.